Hey, good morning, Brandon.
Good morning, Josh. Gosh, there's my Friday.
Well, it's
And
Friday. That's the
Bob
good
is
news.
new and in the house. Welcome, Bob.
Hey,
Well,
Bob,
thank
welcome.
you.
We'll see who all shows up today. Josh, I'm glad we moved it to Fridays and you can join us now.
I am as well. It makes it much more advantageous for me to learn and grow. So I appreciate that.
You got it. I think we probably that is a bit of a process for us is every quarter or so we'll switch up the days a little bit.
Perfect. Yeah.
Keep doing.
I like Fridays also.
Hey,
I like Fridays
like you
too.
already, Bob.
What do you do, Josh?
I work for a advertising agency that focuses on direct marketing, specifically rooted in direct mail with some digital augmentation. What about yourself?
Well, what I do is I help small businesses or privately owned businesses just, kind of do a private equity play. That's, so
Okay.
they instead of kind of so many businesses nowadays, Josh, their business doesn't run as good as it could. They're great at what they do, but necessarily we just help make their business run better.
Yeah, I hear that. I see a lot of those businesses.
Do you?
Yeah. Yeah, I belong to a regional networking group, or I guess it's actually an international networking, but regional chapter. And there's a lot of businesses that definitely are great at what they do, but the business acumen of them is not their strong suit. So, lots of growth opportunity for those businesses.
Yeah. And it's a lot of fun. So where you at, Josh?
I'm just outside of Portland, Oregon.
Okay. That's a pretty place. I have a good buddy that lives up in that area.
I'm quite fond of it. I've had the fortune of traveling quite a bit across the country, and I'm pretty glad that my roots are set here. So.
Hey, Josh, what's downtown Portland looking like these days? I know what the news kind of says, but I know a lot of retailers have pulled out of downtown Portland, and is
Yeah,
it a bit of a black eye?
it's not ideal. I hardly ever go downtown, to be honest with you, but I just was going downtown to shoot sunrise at the waterfront on Sunday, and I was not particularly happy with the surrounding environment. So, I mean, they're definitely trying to make a move, but it's really, really slow progressing. So
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
it is, it is.
Yeah,
But the satellite regions of Portland are all pretty
yeah,
good. It's really the downtown environment that's just kind of trashed.
yeah, I get it. What's up, Flannel Friday? How you doing,
How's it
Adam?
going?
Good. How about you?
Good. Oh, I'm doing all right.
Yeah. And another week's gone by, and your boss hasn't scheduled a meeting with me.
He said he reached out to you.
He did. He told me he'd reach out to me in a few weeks.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
we actually had a really good brainstorming session on Wednesday when I walked him through the revenue zone. Like walked him through that matrix and he's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
this is a really good way of explaining it." I'm like,
Yep. That'll do it. That'll do it. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about the my version of the revenue zone matrix today as well. I'm going to incorporate that into what we're going to talk about today. So, hey, Bob, your first time here. Welcome to the group. Do you want to take a couple minutes and just tell everybody a little bit about who you are, where you are? Even people that aren't here, they may watch the recording, and then you get introduced to everybody in the group. I think now there's like 20, 22, 23 of us.
Huh.
Today's kind of a lighter side, but that's all
Well,
good.
thank you, Brandon. Glad to be here. Hello, everyone. Hope you all had a splendid week. Yeah, what I do is I like to contribute to privately owned businesses that want to need to grow their business and to make it run smoother, more efficiently, more effectively. and make more money with less effort. And we do that by just basically clarifying where they're at, where they want to go in 1, 3, 5, 10 years down the road. And we have a simple process that we go through to help them get there. That's what we do. And I'm in business with my wife, and that's wonderful. So we're very fortunate to be able to work together. So that's what we do. And we are in the Triad, or Winston-Salem, Greensboro, High Point, North Carolina.
Except today you're at your lake, because Bob and I had a call yesterday while he was driving to his lake, and I asked him what time I should be there and what time dinner was. He graciously invited me.
Yeah, it's you're all more welcome to come to. So yeah, more welcome to come. So we enjoy it.
Good stuff. Well, welcome, Bob. Appreciate you being here and joining us. So, hey, everybody, before I get started in what I prepared for today, any outstanding, like, pressing questions, comments, things you didn't put into the chat group? Bob, I got you invited into that chat group on LinkedIn as well. So you're in there now too, and tagged you in there. But
Thank you, Brandon.
Any questions, comments, anything hot that we should address before we jump in?
I have a tactical question specific to the app itself.
Okay.
So I'm kind of at that stage where I'm like actually starting to do the outbound connect. And I've noticed that when it prompts you for that, there is a button that says connect, and I click it and nothing happens. And so I've just copy and pasted the text into, my connect request, but I wasn't sure if that's supposed to automatically update like the log, but like nothing seems to happen when I click that. So
Got it. That's a good Daniel question, to be honest.
Yeah, actually, I fed the same concern to Daniel last week.
Okay.
And he said he was rolling out an update that was supposed to fix it. So
okay. Thanks, Adam.
I have not tried it since, to be honest with you. But yeah, I sent him a Loom kind of recording of me doing it and it doing nothing in Fist Pump. So
Okay. Appreciate it.
Let me, I'm just going to ping Daniel real quick and make sure that that's on his radar. Okay. Cool. Okay. Just want to make sure that got in front of him. Anything else? All right.
I got my first lead.
Oh, sweet. Tell us about it.
Yeah. So again, it's just focusing on that engagement aspect. And coincidentally, it was nobody in my lead pool, nobody I was pursuing, just an old alumni from college. And she went to a nonprofit gala, and it was a children's camp that I happened to participate in as a child. So I kind of shared out some sentiments of the experiences that I had, and the chairman of the board reached out and asked if I want to get involved. And by the end of the conversation, we're now talking about helping them market and get more donations because they're in a budget shortfall. And so it was just it was really cool manifestation. Again, nobody in my target zone yet, but like it's just that proof that engagement in that atmosphere and just being real and having real conversations can lead to real business. So cool. So that's, what I like about that is, it wasn't as like your activities, your sales focused activities created it, but it's that when we look at LinkedIn through the lens of networking, you were active, and through your activities, something developed. I mean, it's similar to, all right. Seth just said his camera and microphone not working, but he's there. Well, hi, Seth. Glad you're here.
Hey, Seth.
It's like, so last night, Chris Dunn's in Atlanta, and Butch and Chris and Scott Fuller, who's not in our group, but he might be, Tom Taylor, Brock Klein, a few of us, we got together. And unfortunately, with the wind advisory, I canceled doing the fire pit and everything at my house like I like to do. We met at a cigar bar. But You know, Chris was saying that the deal that he got, and for those of you that don't remember it, it was somebody he had been connected to on LinkedIn for, he said, about 10 years, and hadn't really, hadn't heard from her, hadn't contacted her, hadn't really done anything. She hadn't really liked or commented on any of his content. And then he got a message from her saying, hey, Chris, it's been great, seeing your post and keeping up with you. We have a need. We don't like our current vendor, and we have a need coming up quick. And it turned into a $100,000 deal. And now they proved themselves in the really quick deal, and now they're talking about their next deal. So now it's upwards of $250,000. What happened there? He was consistent with his LinkedIn activities, and the type of activities are not brochure, this is what we do, but it was more that personal. It was getting to know him, and there's what he does for a living. Don't let me make it sound like it's just all personal.
Yeah.
But when we lead with our humanity, with our content, it actually gives people a way to really connect with us. And the psychology of it makes sense. If we're all business all the time, they don't really know, like they could put us in a file in their brain of what we do, but it's real easy to forget that, because all these people are in different files in our brains of the types of businesses that they do. But when we start to express our humanity, who we are as a person and what we're like, what our families are like, what we like to do, it actually makes it easier for another human being to place us somewhere on a more of an emotional side, right? Oh, I like that about you. Oh, I remember when, Josh and I met for the first time in Oregon, in Portland, at your office. Like, we have visuals, and we have better emotional memories that we trigger and store versus the staleness of just business. Does that make sense?
100%. I mean, really, I feel like the ability for an individual to remember you on the merit of maybe what your USPs are in your business is far less than what they remember about how they felt working with you, the person. So I definitely think that the combination, but leading with personal and being a real person, that's what people want to associate to.
Right. And it goes down that know, like, and trust scale, right?
Yeah.
When they feel like they know us and they like us, they tend to trust us more, they remember us more. And it's that, oh, the need came up, I need to go to them. And that's part of that process of how we attract and retain customer attention at the beginning stages of that. And we create demand instead of just trying to capture that demand. If we go back to Chris's example, if he had only been posting brochure type information, he probably would never even have known she was in need. And that deal never even would have been a consideration for him. And she never would have thought of reaching out to him because she may not have remembered him just from the business conversations alone. So, okay. So that said, oops, one quick second. I messed up. My daughter just left with my other daughter and our 11-year-old daughter. And my wife just sent me a text saying, I see you're at home and I see Zoe's not. Where is she? What's she doing? Sorry. Okay. So let me do.
Nothing like
Also,
an
you
Amber
should respond. I
to
thought she
kick
was
off
with
the-
you.
Yeah. No, if I wasn't trying to just hurry up and be done, I may have thought of something a little bit more witty. What are you talking about? Yeah. All right. So what I wanted to talk about today was a little bit less tactical than we've been the last several weeks, and a little bit more higher up, if you will. But I want you guys to be thinking about your personal brand. And, I did a post earlier this week because I had, I think on Tuesday, I started getting this like flood of connection requests from people coming in. And a company called OpenText at their SKO event, one of their sales leaders who I've gotten to know over the last couple months was talking about me and sharing some of the things that I say around social. And I had all these people sending me connection requests, and they were all saying like, yeah, we were talking about our personal brands. We're talking about the value and how we need to get more serious about our personal brands. And so I created a post this week specifically because they were all asking about it around personal brands. But really, I think, we, in the last 10, 15 years, it just seems like there's this flood of information, flood of new training, new coaching, new experts, and all these new terms and coining this and coining that. Like personal brand, it's our reputation. What do people think about us? If they do think about us, what comes to mind? And so I want us to be thinking today. I just thought this was really funny. Can you guys see that? What's your personal brand? Brand. I'm not an energy drink. I have a personality, not a personal brand. So you're traditional and a little spunky. I like it. I want us to be thinking about what we're doing with this is we're developing this micro influencer, if you will. And again, I know it's another term, but for most of us, if we could use our activities to develop strong, influential relationships with about 100 to 200 people, our businesses would change and our career would change forever. That's what networking is. But in order to do that, we also have to have a plan. We have to be able to know, like, how do we want them to think about us? How do we want to be known? What do we want them to remember about us? And be a bit more strategic about how we present ourselves on LinkedIn. This will influence how we publish. It'll influence the tone. It'll influence the pictures we use. And the reason I think this is so important is in various topics of conversations, it always gets to some part of the imposter syndrome, right? Oh, I know I should take more selfies because I know that they work better. I know people connect better, but, and there's a reason they don't want to do it, right? Oh, I know I should get a little bit more authentic, but I know I should be, comment more and be open to comment on things, but like we have all these buts that get in the way. And I believe oftentimes we have the buts in the way because we haven't done the work to get real clarity on who do we want to be and how do we want to be known? How do we want to influence that reputation? I'm going to pause right there and let you guys give me some feedback on that. What is this speaking to you? And what type of thoughts and topics is it bringing up with you?
I mean, I'll jump in this week just because I, for years, have had a personal lifestyle brand on Instagram called Go Beer King. It's taking a beer out on a hike, and it's literally my backdrop to my office. And yet I've completely abstained from touching anything remotely similar on LinkedIn. And I just finally, like this week, had the epiphany, like, this is who I am. This is a part of me. It's part of what I love. And it's actually a great conversation starter when people see the beer. And so why am I not sharing this, as part of my overall, kind of content strategy? And of course, I should have known, but immediately people resonated instantly, right? I mean, I had people yesterday in person go, "Oh my God, I love that you put that up on LinkedIn." So I think exposing who you really are and putting that out there, I feel just makes you more relatable. And it does feel awkward at first, but once you just kind of abandon that, and I think you talking about micro influencing and just focusing on 100 or 200 people, I think that's a good way to put it. Like, I don't need to resonate with everybody.
Mm-mm.
I just need to resonate with the ones that, are more important to me. And so,
Yep.
Forget the people that it doesn't fit and just stay focused.
Yeah. And the other thing with that too, and I learned this the hard way too, and a lot of you guys know my story and just some of the own insecurities I had to get over even after, I could say, oh yeah, I built and sold 3 companies, da, 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 da. Inside, I was still this insecure wreck, right? Getting that clarity of who we want to be and getting over that insecurity of we're not for everyone. right? We're not. There's certain people that just don't want to do business with me because of the way I act. And that's okay, because for me, I know I'm very personal. I like relationship before business. That's really important to me. And when I engage with people who are just very strict business and don't want to get personal, I make them uncomfortable. And that's okay, because it's not going to work out anyway. But when we have a little bit more of a, I just had a word that was just left my, a limited mindset. We feel like, oh, I got to appeal to everybody because I never know where my next deal is going to come from. And it actually works against us. When we're so clear on who we are, our message is clear and consistent, we're comfortable in it, what actually happens is more of our audience finds us. And I know that sounds passive, like, oh, we're just going to put it out there and the universe is going to bring them to us. But you know what I found? The more consistent I am in who I am, my community starts to find me and I start to find them, and it grows a lot faster than when I was trying to be who the person in front of me needed me to be for that conversation. So I love that you're doing that, Josh. I think, taking that who you are in the beer side and using that, and maybe you're talking a little bit about the beer, the flavor, the hike you were on, but incorporating a bit into business.
Yeah.
For LinkedIn, and maybe you don't do that on Instagram, but bringing that into business is really going to help your personal brand grow, because people are going to go, oh, the beer guy, like Chris Dunn. Yeah. People refer to him all the time as the guy and his dog, because he does his dog walk post all the time.
That's literally what I was thinking about over the weekend when I was hiking, is I'm like, this is Chris. Chris is out there with his dog, taking his walk, taking his selfies, sharing his personal insight, and, just being him.
Yeah. There you go. That's good. Anyone else, anything resonating coming up to the surface you want to ask about or share? Okay. I like this image, and it's kind of repetitive from the one before about you are your personal brand, but I like this image for all of us, because as unique as we think we are, and as unique as we really truly are, LinkedIn is a sea of sameness. For the most part, people are hiding behind their titles. And what I mean by that is their activities are, this is who I am on my title. And so this is all the behavior that I do. Excuse me. I only post about my company. I post about my business. I post about our products. I post about our services. And every now and then I'll say congratulations to somebody because they have an anniversary or they got a new job. What that does is it just puts everybody into this big sea of sameness. I mean, you guys want to get humbled, take whatever your title is and go into the LinkedIn search bar and do a quick search and see how many hundreds of thousands or millions of people are out there with your same title, right? It's a sea of sameness. For us to really stand out, and we talked about this a few months ago, about calling it our uniqueifier, and it's spelled Y-O-U instead of with a U, right? Your uniqueifier. That's the only thing that we have to stand out. So whether it's you take your dogs for walks and you use that with pictures in order to bring it back to business, you do your hiking with beer. By the way, Josh, Megan and I, we don't hike in the winter because we're too pansies to go out in the cold. But usually about April, May through it starts getting cold, we hike most weekends, and we take one beer and we wrap it up in foil along with our sandwiches. And when we get to our turnaround point, we have our beer and our sandwiches and our chips and our grapes, and then we turn around and come back. So
exactly.
Yeah.
You get it.
And it's we wrap it in the foil so we feel like our old school, like when we were kids going on field trip days. Yeah. So
trail lunch.
Can I say something here, Brandon?
Yeah, of course.
So it's funny we should be at this part today, because we had a speaker at a CEO peer group on Tuesday, and he said the exact same thing about going out there and looking. You can look at your title all day long. He said, what can make you unique also is why you do what you do. So what is your why?
Mhm.
And that is what something, you know, whether you're a financial planner or you're a real estate, I don't care what it is. It's what you do and, you know, why you do it that can make you unique. And that was a lot of people said, that's kind of interesting. That's kind of an interesting take. And that, so I started using that. And I think that's been a eye-opening to me. And, you know, when people say, what do? You just say, hey, you know, let me tell you why I do with what I do. And I think that really resonates with people.
Oh, absolutely. Look, I was going to save this for the end, but I'll tell you guys now. I mean, I got clarity on my personal mission statement. And even through the ups and downs of my life, I believe if it wasn't for my personal mission statement, I would have even been more, you know, thrown off path. But I create companies to grow people. That's number one for me. I like my companies to be focused on how I help my employees become better versions of themselves. And then the second part is the companies I grow are designed to help business owners and sales professionals, because I think sales professionals are the ultimate entrepreneurs, right? You only eat when you kill things, other than maybe a small base pay, but you live on commissions. So I help business owners and sales professionals create systems to help them earn more money and take stress off their plate. That drives everything that I do from the business strategy standpoint. And then I go down into that and I start looking at, well, how do I want to be? What do I want people to think about me? How do I want to show up? When I leave a room, what do I want people to say? And so much of that has all been driven by this book. I bring it up all the time. You guys know it. It's always within arm's distance of me, because it was through this book that I finally realized, honestly, when I was younger, how all my childhood brokenness turned me into a dick. Like, I don't know any other way to say it. And I know I'm harder on myself. My wife always tells me, you weren't that bad. Like, you could have gotten better, but you weren't that bad. Fine, great. I agree. I wasn't that bad. But my insecurities didn't allow me to focus on, you know, the Maya Angelou quote that I share all the time too. It's, people don't remember what you said. They remember how you made them feel. And in business and in life, how people feel and how they think about us based on how they feel determines if they want to have a repeat conversation, if they want to be around us, if they want to refer business to us, if they want to do business with us. And so much of that uniqueifier is so important, getting that clarity around it. This is the old model, and I like to bring it back up because it reminds us of the activities that we do that are really fruitless right now. The old model is try to get as many people at the top of our funnel. Now, it could be your pipeline, it could be a marketing funnel. It's basically the same thing. But in sales, it was, we make as many calls as we can. We send out as many messages as we can. We try to get as many people as we can to get some sort of awareness of who we are, to see if we could create some sort of an interest and get a desire and ultimately turn them into a customer. Everything that we're doing, guys, it flips that on its head, right? We're looking at this as a micro influencer. We are up at the top, and through the activities that we can control, the post, the content we share, the tone of the content, the images we share, the comments we make, who we go and comment on, like, we can be very strategic with those, but those are the only activities that we can control. But through those activities, we start to create engagement. People comment on our post, we comment on other people's posts, and then other people comment, and we can comment on their comments. Right? We can go look at people's profiles, read their about section, and send them a message and go, man, I really appreciated reading that about you. Thank you for sharing that. I learned this about you, or let me ask you a question. Right? Anything like that, again, for me, it always comes back to this. How do people feel based on what you're doing? People care about themselves. So what actions can we do from a genuine place, right? I'm not saying we BS people and we just, hey, you know, Rick Slick and cool and all that. But what actions can we control in order to create that engagement? And then through that engagement, what happens is, and you could use all these different words, we create consideration, and then ultimately we start to develop customers. What does that look like? Josh, it looks like your example that you gave. You commented on something, you shared a little bit about your story, someone reached out to you, they loved your story, they invited you to come in and tell your story. And Bo, by the way, what do you do for work? Oh my gosh, we should use you, right? We all use vendors, but we prefer to use vendors who we like, who we know, who we've gotten to know. And if we don't put ourselves out there, people don't know that. LinkedIn gives us this great opportunity to put ourselves out there and share who we are and a little bit about ourselves, not just what we do, but we have to have the courage to present that about ourselves, present that about what's important to us. Okay. I'm going to pause again because I know this is a little bit more theoretical. It's not getting into just the tactical, like this is the way you create a post. Any thoughts, comments, questions, observations to this point? So that means this is either really good or it's really confusing, and you guys can tell me later which one it is. Got it. I'm with you. Okay. So this is the Adam, you're talking about the matrix. So this is my version of the matrix now, and this is what drives the activities that we do. And this is why I think it's so important for us to get that clarity on our personal brand, our reputation, how we want people to think about us. So we're all been around for a while in business. We know, like, and trust. Always important. If they don't know us, well, they never had a chance to like us, trust us, or ever do business with us. But if they know us and they don't like us, well, we lose our opportunity because people choose to do business with those they know, like, and trust. And I'm going to add on to this. I did this as a talk a long time ago and I forgot about it, but I think it's really important. I think in a modern digital era with so much noise and so much information, because we got these computers that sit in our hands all day long, access the world. Know, like, and trust for me is also like, trust, and remembered. We've got to be remembered. We can't think of ourselves as these one-hit wonders. Oh, I had this great post and everybody knows who I am. Sadly, none of us are that important. Most of us are not that important anyway, that we say something one time and people are going to remember it for years. So for us to be focused on how we attract and retain customer attention, there's a big component of consistency. And if you saw our show this week with Mark Hunter, Mark had very, very simple line. He said, consistency creates credibility. I mean, that's one of the things that we do on creating credibility. So know, like, and trust, and also consider it as like, trusted, and remembered. But now we've got this left, the y-axis, so up on the left side there, with the actions that we can control: publishing content, commenting, sending messages to people. Instead of blasting people with, hey, my company's awesome, do you have time for me? Everything that we do, we have to think about, we are helping create awareness of who we are and what we do, with the goal of developing interest in order to create demand. So if we are looking at this a little bit more complex than a funnel, looking at it, this 2-variable matrix, everything that we're doing from activities and comments, we're trying to move people down this to know us, to like us, to trust us. As we know our personal brand, we know the reputation we want, know the audience that we're going after. It gives us that freedom to say, this is the way I'm going to present myself because these type of people will resonate with it and these type of people will not, and that's okay. Then simultaneously, we're sharing, what do we do? How do we serve people? How do we help them? But we got to do it in a more conversational way. And our goal is moving people up that, getting awareness, interest, and demand. What does that look like? Well, it's things like Chris's example that he gave the other day, or his old testimony, if you will, of the woman sending him a message saying, "Hey, Chris, it's been great keeping up with you and learning about you and your dog walks. I have a need." Through his content, he developed interest. He created awareness, developed some interest. So she knew like what he does and the company he works for and things like that, to a point of creating demand, meaning she had a need, the timing was right, and he was top of mind. So she's up in that top right corner of high trust and high demand, and reached out, and Chris closed some deals. Okay. So the 4-step process of getting there, I like to think about it this way because our tendency is, oh, we're so good and we mean so well and we help so many customers that we can just jump to the end. But our buyers won't jump to the end with us. They've got to go through their own process and pace. So thinking about these 4 steps, the first thing we want to do is create that healthy connection. And I use healthy because it's not just send a connection request and they accept it. And we go, oh, great, they accepted it. Now I can go message them. None of us like it. You guys don't like it. We could always, I'm sure we could talk for the rest of the day and tell stories about the pitch slaps that come in and how annoying they are. So our first goal is, how do we develop that healthy connection? And we talk about this a lot. I don't want to deep dive on how, but for today, healthy connection. And then our activities is designed to, can we help them create a willingness to converse or engage with us? Is our content appropriate, targeted, interesting, valuable, so that they want to comment on it? Or maybe they would want to have a conversation with us. Moving them to the next step of, do they have some desire to learn from us, all the way up to they're ready to consider doing business with us. The reason I brought this up, the matrix, today is, as we're looking at our brand, we're looking at the content we create, the comments we share, how we present ourselves. I'd never want to lose sight that this is the 4-step process in the matrix that we need to constantly be aware of allowing our buyers to go through this process. If we skip a step, we risk, and I know this is a little bit hyperbole, but if we go straight from, oh, we got a little bit of a healthy connection, to, hey, do you want to talk about buying my stuff? They're out. Like, they just poop. We lost credibility. They don't like us anymore. They don't trust us anymore. Oh, you just were playing nice in order to get the deal. And it's real easy for them to be out. Maybe they disconnect from us, but more likely they just ignore us and ghost us because we move too quick for them. We have to be patient and kind of allow them to go down the pace that they want. Again, I'm going to pause right there for 30 seconds if anybody has comments or questions or observations about that. Plus, it gives me a chance to have a sip.
I think it all makes sense.
Thank you. All right. So I want you to do the rest of this. I want you guys to be thinking about who you are. Go through this. This is kind of an exercise that I like to go through when I want to come back to refining my uniqueifier and how am I showing up, what I want people to think about me. So I've got these 3 slides of just questions that I encourage you guys to ask of yourself. And the first step I look at is that personal empowerment side. How do you want to be known? And look, this is why I think the group is so important, because our own imposter syndrome, our own insecurities, it's real easy for us to say, yeah, but not really, right? And most of you guys that know me well enough is, even with my entrepreneurial successes, the exits that I had, I looked at those and thought, well, I'm not that good. I'm not that good at what I do. Or some of the people would be like, oh my gosh, you sold 3 companies. And they're like, well, yeah, but and I downplayed everything because of my own insecurities. We've got to address those. And this is where the community is so important. What do people say about you? Use this community, use the community and, your friendships your local community, your church groups, whatever it may be, and ask people, what am I good at? How do I add value to you? What do you think of me? And it's hard, I get it. But getting that clarity, one, it's empowering us and gives us more confidence. But number two is, if that's who people around us are seeing who we are, and then we can focus on using that. We're obviously good at those things. Those are some of our strengths. How do we incorporate that into the way that we show up in social media? So as an example, I learned, and it, when I asked people, or I started paying attention to some of the compliments that people would give me, I learned that I was an encourager. I didn't realize for so long that I was an encourager, because it was right there in front of me. And once I started asking people or paying attention to what they complimented me on, or I said, what do you say about me? Or how do you think about me? I started hearing this, like, you're such an encourager. You're such an encourager. And finally I started to hear it and realized, oh yeah, I really do love encouraging people. I really love to find
How you doing? You had a chance to get a room.
I muted you, Chris, and encourage them. So then that became part of my LinkedIn strategy. It helped me start commenting more, knowing that one of my commenting styles was encourager and the other one was clarifier. By the way, if you haven't done the commenting assessment, you should do that. And if you don't know where it is, send me a message and I'll send you a link to it. I forget to bring it up sometimes, but so those are some of the awarenesses that I discovered in my own journey and asking some of these questions. So my hope for you guys is get some of this clarity of who you want to be, how you want to be known, but maybe do it through asking people around you of, what do they think? What do you hear? What are some of those consistent themes? If you need a specific task, go ask 10 people, what are your top 3 strengths, or what do they like best about you, and hear what they have to say and start refining that into a personal empowerment type of statement about who you are. Any feedback on that?
I think it's a good exercise.
These are good, and they're just hard because we don't want to take time for them. But here's what I found is, when I actually take time to do these, it makes everything else go faster and better. But when I don't take time to do it, I like, oh, I know who I am. I got my values in place. There's still, clarity, like, mud. It's as clear as mud, even though you think you've got clarity on it. The other one is on our values. And I don't want to get too woo-woo-y with this. I don't want to get too deep, but look, we can't separate ourselves from our personal values. Even within, I believe that we tend to have here's my personal values, and then here's how I bring my personal values to business. I don't think they're separated per se, but we manifest them slightly different in business than we do just in our personal lives. But getting some clarity on what's valuable to you, what's important to you, what do you value in the deal and deal process? I hear things like, I value transparency, I value honesty, I value hard work. What are some of those things that you really care about? And how do you incorporate that into your messaging, into your commenting, into your presence, your activities that you can control inside of LinkedIn? Okay. And the last one is where you find inspiration. I think that's what this group is so good about, and any other groups, peer groups, networking groups, friend groups, church groups, small groups, men's groups, whatever, are so important for us is, and I love the first one. What can you emulate? Not copy, because we can't be other people, but what are things that you see in other people that you go, you know, I really like that about them, and I would like to develop that more in me. For me, I found people that were just genuinely joyful was really appealing to me. And when I dawned on me that I wasn't genuinely joyful a lot of times, that it was something that I wanted to emulate and I wanted to figure out how to do. It sent me down a whole different journey and path in my life of trying to figure out why I had all this baggage and stuff. But in looking at them, I realized like, hey, when I show up in business and LinkedIn, I want to be more aware of being genuinely joyful and excited and encouraging and enthusiastic, and not a bump on a log, which prior, in the early stages of my life, I could be. And it wasn't that I was depressed or frustrated or anything. I just was so stuck in my own head and thoughtful about things that I realized I showed up, the way people perceived me was more either angry. Like even my kids said when they were young, when I think, I would get this weird look on my face, and my kids always thought I was angry. Like we'd be sitting at the dinner table, and as they got older, they told me like, Dad, you have resting dick face. I'm like, what the heck is resting dick face? It's like, well, when you're just sitting there, you look pissed. You look like you're a dick. I'm like, oh, great. I appreciate it. But I realize is when I'm thinking and my brain's going down different paths and I'm trying to figure something out, that I got this look on my face that made me look angry. And when my kids told me that, I was like, oh my gosh, I got to be aware of that. So I think then when I saw people that were just genuinely joyful and enthusiastic about life, I'm like, I want to emulate that. I don't want to copy it because I can't just fake it, but it put me down a path of discovering that. And I don't know if that's a good example for you guys, but that's where I want to encourage you. Like, where do you find your inspiration on who you want to show up as, and then develop that into this strategy around the content you produce, the comments you do, the way you talk about yourself in your about section. I mean, all the ways that we can show up in LinkedIn, especially with the topics and how we do it, how we can use those things to present ourselves in the way that we want to present ourselves, that we want to be known, and is truly authentic with who we are, even if we're in process, right? The whole joyful thing for me, like I felt for a long time, like I couldn't just act joyful until I really hit like there was some point on a path of joy that I had to hit before I could act that way, which I know is really stupid. I'm an overthinker if you guys haven't figured that out. But finding that is a way to lead the content we produce, the comments we make, the pictures we use, the smiles we have on our face when we do it, our willingness to be silly and take goofy pictures and be okay with it because we have a purpose, right? We have a point. We're doing this whole LinkedIn thing because we're trying to grow our network. We're trying to show up in a certain way, attract certain types of people, control that reputation that we have, because at the end of the day, it opens up opportunities for us to grow our businesses and close more deals. So here's a challenge for today is, if you want, no pressure. I don't want anybody to do stuff that they're not comfortable with, but here's what I found. The longer I put off doing the deep work, the more frustrating my activities were. There was so much more freedom when I did the deep work. And then the deep work made me be more consistent. And then the consistency gave me more credibility, and the credibility started opening up more doors, to the point now that it's my outreach, guys. It's almost weekly, and it ebbs and flows, of course. But like this week, I had 2 messages come in. Hey, Brandon, been paying attention to your content. Can we talk? It's just this flywheel now that being consistent and having this clarity and trying to be who I am and being okay with it and posting pictures and doing stupid dad jokes and all this type of activities that I can control has created this flywheel that now my business just seems to keep growing and moving and building and, you know, attracting a lot of you guys coming into the group. And that's what I want for you guys. So I encourage you to do the work. I'm not going to ask you to turn in your homework. If you want to share it with the group or with me or with specific people, I highly encourage it because there's so much strength in sharing what we're doing. But you don't have to. It's up to you. That's what I got for today. What do y'all think? What's going through your heads?
I think it's great. I had a guest on my show. He was president of Starbucks for like 20 years. His name's Howard Behar, and he's really big on, you know, personal mission statements and personal values. And I remember I have a horrible memory. All right. So quotes from interviews are few and far between, but he said, you may not like the culture you have, but it's the culture you deserve. So put another way, if you're not willing to put in the work, then you're just going to get what you get. But if you want something, if you want it to be changed, then you have to put in that work to earn it. And it just always just resonated with me. And I think that's exactly what you're saying here is in order for us to really fully embrace the kind of direction, the vision of us that we want to be, you have to put in that work to understand it and be committed to it.
Yeah.
Otherwise others won't.
Yeah. No, I mean, we got to put in the work to become the person we want to be. Nobody's going to do it for us. I mean, Butch has been on this journey with me for a while and knowing that I still struggle with the negative thoughts from my childhood, the messages where I was told I was a piece of shit and I was no good and all that. And I mean, I've been fighting that stuff my whole life, but if I don't fight it, I get what I deserve.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, that's good. I appreciate that, Josh.
Hey, Brandon, just one thing to add, and sorry I'm hopping in late, but I did catch about half of the call. And it really resonates with me, just your distinction between the copy and the emulate and identify those attributes in other people that you find interesting or admirable. And again, don't try to be somebody you're not, but say that, you know, your idea of like being more joyful, like identify those people who are just always seem to have a good positive attitude and a good spin on things and be like, yeah, I'll freaking be more like that. So that little piece spoke to me. And you know, what Josh was saying as well is, you know, doing that inner work is the hard stuff, but I think that's where the goods are.
Yeah. It also reminds me of him. It's funny as we've taught this to our kids, realizing the whole time, like I hadn't totally learned it. And I had an aha moment going, gosh, you know, I've taught my kids this, but I don't know if I've actually totally been taught it is, and I forget who actually coined it. Doesn't matter, I guess, but we become the collective of the 5 people we spend the most time with. It just means they influence us. So we have to be very aware of who we're spending time with as well.
Yeah.
So. Well, I hope today was good. I know it was a little bit different. And when people start bailing during it, my insecurities kick in and go, dang it, I didn't bring good stuff today. But I think this was good. And hopefully they were leaving for other reasons, not because the topic was bad. And I know this topic, it's kind of weird in this case, not weird. It's so important. And it's also the stuff that we don't like to talk about. We want to go into, just tell me how to post, tell me when to post, tell me which hashtag to use, tell me how to get engagement. Like we focus on these tactical things, but the reality is it's like the iceberg, right? It's what's below the surface that really gives it strength. And we got to take the time to do that work.
For sure. I think if you're just literally going down a checklist, you're being a robot. And that's as transparent as, you know, and as invaluable as doing nothing. So it's like, if you're going to take the time to actually try to make this work, then you should be authentic to who you are. Otherwise, you're gonna be spinning wheels.
Yep. For sure. All righty, guys. I appreciate you and happy Friday, and
Friday.
jump in. Nora will get this put up into the training group,
Cool.
and she'll throw it into the group, the link when it's ready and all that. But if you guys have any other questions or comments or things pop up, throw them in the group. Let's keep talking about it.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thanks, Brandon.
Happy Friday,
Butch.
guys. We'll see ya. Thank you.
Happy Friday.
Bye, Nor.
Bye, Nora.
Bye.